where the Nuggets forced a Game 7. Jokic and Murray had a balanced game. They combined for 44, while Christian Brown at 23, 11, and 5. Brew, will kick us off here. What was your number one takeaway from this game?
Well, in tribute to the great Shaquille O'Neal, the others. That's what this was, the others. Obviously, Jokic and Jamal Murray hit some huge shots. Jamal Murray playing through sickness, went out there and had a good game. But they were, of course, were big. But what I think won them this game, there were two critical stretches. At the end of the second quarter, now OKC is up 12. Looking like, I get it, it was still fairly early.
No, but
looking like they have a nice,
control.
comfortable lead in the half. And then Christian Brown, we might have video of this, he hits 2 threes and gets them tied, and then they go in the half just down 3.
Yep.
So that was huge. And then in the third quarter, game is tied. And then out of nowhere, Julian Strawther, who had 14 points in the first 5 games of the series combined, he goes for 15 last night, but hits 2 threes and then gets like a kind of a lay-in, alley-oop lay-in.
It was a little acrobatic. He caught it with his back to the basket and kind of pivoted it in the air.
It was nice. And so those two stretches, if you look, game 1, they stole. Westbrook gives them 18 off the bench.
Yeah.
Last night, they get a big contribution from Strawther. Their depth is obviously not equal to OKC's, and when they do get a good unforeseen performance by a bench guy or combine the guys produce, that's their formula for winning, because Jokic and Murray are pretty much going to deliver.
And Gordon, too. I mean, Gordon, there's some concern.
That'd be huge if that hammy is a problem.
It looked like the hammy bit him a bit. And because I had a similar feeling on the Denver side of things, which is the question is, can Denver get one guy outside of their big three to step up? And they needed Strawther last night when he did, because the one end of quarter sequence you didn't mention was the end of the first quarter, when Russell Westbrook had about as damaging 3 minutes as you can have, where he had 4 possessions in a row, and it was 2 misses, 2 turnovers. And I am not trying to pile on. I'm not trying to kill Russ, because over the breadth of this season, he has been more good than bad. And in the first round, round of the playoffs, he had some good moments, as you mentioned, game 1. These last 3 games, and I don't know if it has anything to do with it, if he's in his own head. They do coincide with the Ramona Shelburne article coming out about the interaction with Aaron Gordon that Aaron got upset about, and whatever it is. He has been the worst version that we've seen him in Denver these last 3 games. So they needed Strawther in that moment. He gave it to him. My big takeaway, though, might be on the other side, which is OKC might not be ready yet. And Shai has been excellent. And we can show the play at the end of the third quarter. I'm starting to doubt basketball gods, because in the same night Jason Tatum tore his Achilles, the Mavs won the lottery. But if the basketball gods have any fight in them left, this type of stuff can't be rewarded. Jamal Murray is like, you've got to be kidding me. But even though
there were a couple of things last night.
But Shai hasn't been the problem. The problem has been Jalen Williams, who this entire postseason, we can show it to you, and then I know you have more on it, but in the postseason as a whole, he's been the worst three-point shooter in the playoffs. It's down across the board. And
that scoring, that's fine, but it's down from what he did in the regular season.
And it's down, and go ahead, KW.
Well, that's even worse, because we had the same thought. But Game 3, when he had 32, so that brings everything up.
Right.
All the other games, he's down around 13.
Yeah, I mean, this series in particular, Brew, look at that outside of Game 3. And so he hasn't been good enough. And OKC's calling card, even though they have the scoring champ and the league MVP, we think going to be the league MVP, is defense. They have allowed 121, 113, 119 in their 3 losses. Like, their defense hasn't been good enough in those losses. And so I still think the Thunder should win the championship. They should. They have home court, in this and the rest of the way, obviously. Shai has proven he's been able to keep this level. But, man, they have not in this series at all looked like the team that won 68 games.
Well, and that was one of my big questions. Obviously, I talked about their youth for months, but do they have a legit second guy? And if they lose this series and say Jalen doesn't play that well tomorrow, I'm not, or Sunday when they play, right? I'm not necessarily going to say he can't be that guy, and that's what they're going to have to decide. Again, if they lose this series, or even if they lose the next round, right? Correct. Is he just a young guy that's growing and will become that second guy to Shai? Or he's not that good? He's really a third guy or maybe even less than that. And James Harden, who we talked a lot about his playoff history, remember his first finals when they played LeBron in the Heat and Harden was bad. He had been a great six-man all year, was bad in the finals. I wrote that. I said, man, dude is young. He'll be fine. Like, I'm not even worried about that at all. But that was who he was. And so they're going to have to decide, is this who Jalen is, or is he just a young guy, taking his lumps?
And can I add one other thing before we move on to the Game 7? Or we move on to different pieces of it. Because what we know about the Game 7 that's coming up is Joker is going to be ready, and Joker is used to it. So we can, in these, as far as career Game 7s, it's really weird. It's just because look at this. Almost half of his career series have gone the distance. Like, think LeBron's played in 8 Game 7s in 55 series. Joker, this will be his 7th in 16 series, and so that's because, remember, they had
to the level of their team. I mean, they're a good team. They're not a historically great team.
Right. They don't make quick work of almost anybody except for the Lakers, oddly. And so he will be ready. Jamal will be ready.
And they're going to be rested for
as rested as you can be in this situation, because they don't play, obviously, today or tomorrow. They play
remember,
Sunday
they've been
afternoon.
Every other day for the last 2 weeks.
Yep. So this will feel like a real amount of rest.
It's going to be great.
Yes.
All right, Game 7 Sunday afternoon around 3-ish. Is it 3:30?
3:30.
An expected battle between the MVP and the runner-up. Nick, you've talked about this precedent where David Robinson was given his MVP trophy in 1995 in front of Hakeem Olajuwon, who then had 41 and 16 in the same game. So, do you think the league should hand out the MVP before the game? This is assuming that it's SGA's.
Well, whoever it is, they should hand it out.
What's
I doubt they would hand it out on the road, but it's one of these two guys. It's probably Shai, and the answer is, of course, they should. It's an entertainment business, right?
Yeah.
It's about mental toughness. It's about, you know what I mean? It wouldn't, no, I don't think you can argue like that would be unfair. It would be an added wrinkle, but nobody would have, I expected, Brew, them to give it out during this round.
Well, Iron Eagle reported it would happen before Game 5, where he said he was hearing rumblings. It obviously didn't happen.
So just based on recent precedent, they don't, back in the 90s and in really early 2000s, they were fine waiting until the conference finals to give it out because the MVP's team was always still playing.
Right.
You know, and so because they like to be able to have it, the guy's still playing. And then obviously the year Dirk was the 1 seed, they didn't and they lost in round 1, then they had to give it to him in a hallway. That was weird. Like they've adjusted it a bit. But I thought this was perfect, and I thought it would be before Game 2 in OKC or before Game 5. They haven't done it, which leads me to believe they are planning to do it in the conference finals. But come on.
I don't know. They might do it Sunday.
That would be so great. And it would give us an opportunity for a 30-year later potential recreation of that moment.
Robinson,
the guy who's the champion, who has won an MVP, and, you know, I don't know if you can say feel he got snubbed, but
he did feel he got snubbed.
Hakeem, Olajuwon. I'm saying I don't know if Joker feels he got snubbed or not, but whatever. Watching the other guy win the award, and then 10 minutes later they go play a game. That was before Game 2, not before Game 7, but it would be awesome. So I hope they do it.
We talked about it on the morning call, and at that point I was like, no, I don't think they should, because I did feel like, does it give SGA kind of a little boost going into this game and take a little something from Joker? But the more I thought about it, the more I'm with you. Like,
oh, yes.
Number one, the drama you can't beat, right? Everybody's talking about these two guys. And whether Joker feels snubbed or not, a lot of basketball people and fans feel like he's going to get snubbed.
And his teammates might get fired up.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it can give a mental boost to either one of them. Like SGA, like, okay, I got my MVP. I have to go out and prove that I am the MVP because I know a lot of people think it should be Joker. Joker could be like, I'm going to go out and show it should have been me. So it does feel perfect. And if you look at the alternative, if it's going to be SGA, I'll be shocked if it's not SGA.
Minus 10,000. I know you're not a gambler, Brew, but that would mean you have to bet to win $100. You'd have to risk $10,000 on it.
Yeah, that's just
Vegas thinks it is.
If it's him, if they lose, and then Monday, you put a damper on the award in general, but also even for him, he'll feel good. I'm the MVP, but we lost. We're not going to the conference finals, so it is best for them to do it Sunday.
If you were the decision makers, I don't think it's Sam Presti's call, but I assume they're going to run it by someone. Mm-hmm. Would you say, if you're Sam Presti, would you be like, yeah, we want it?
No, I don't.
I wouldn't.
You would not want it if you're Sam Presti?
No. I think that would be edge Denver if this happens.
I do too.
But
I just
Denver
think wants it to happen.
I think that but prove us wrong. You know what I mean? Like, you guys have been like the ultimate team, group interviews, it's fully confident. Great. Now you've got the big bad wolf sitting there snarling, talking about the what?
Go ahead.
I've got another wrinkle to it you haven't thought about.
Okay.
Because I was on your idea of like, give it to SGA, that fires up Denver. You know who else would be like?
Russ. Yes. Oh, Russ. Russ.
I've had that trophy.
You
guys don't think I'm in that category anymore?
No.
Wrong.
It's amazing how many MVPs they've had. This will be their 4th MVP at OKC.
Oh, not to all win it with OKC.
You're right. That one team.
No, but
they're third to win it with them, and Harden,
but even
was
that is
drafted
a lot
by them. Right, for such a young franchise, and they're third to win it is crazy.
I wonder how many have had 3 guys.
Yeah, right. And go ahead, Bruce.
Well, I was going to say, I think this series, and Joker, he obviously had the bad stretch of games.
Can we show their stats next to each other for the series, Joker, SGA?
I think that this series, not by the numbers, but it's telling me, Shai was the MVP because he doesn't have. Jamal Murray is the best 2 in this series, or among these teams. And when you look at what Jalen Williams is doing, and Chet, I think Chet's going to be a star. I just think he's not quite ready yet. He has moments. He's up and down. But Shai doesn't have that consistent second guy. Even if he did in the regular season, he doesn't when the rubber hits the road. And so I think this shows me he is the guy to carry them to 68 wins.
Yeah, but do you agree that Joker's been better of the 2?
Joker's a better player.
No, but in this series, I think Joker's been better. Even with the couple rough games, I feel like he's been better. And
3 games shooting under 40%. So it's hard for me to give that to him.
I understand.
And Shai's second guy is doing very little.
That part's fair. If we can just quick before we move on, Dust, if you could pull up the Joker fourth quarter stuff. There is, because I think he's done a really good job of pacing himself. I know during the broadcast last night, there was some they need him to be more aggressive. This is a pretty remarkable thing. Fourth quarter overtime, a point a minute. And, you know what I mean? That is.
He doesn't get tired. I mean, he may be tired, but he just. He is in phenomenal shape.
And that field goal percentage is lower than his. But 52 is fine, and it's not like he's not shooting any jumpers. The free throw thing surprised me because feels like he has missed more free throws than usual in this series, but I guess in fourth quarter and overtime, he's only missed 5. He has been, and he is playing way more minutes than Shai because the Thunder are the deeper team.
Okay. Celtics, Knicks, game 6. New York trying to bounce back from a 25-point loss in Boston via a surprise game from American Luke Cornett. Knicks, of course, winless this century.
I was right to point that out.
We got it.
There are many people that were like, Is this some Serbian who's about to take the league by storm in a few years?
No one was like, he's from Serbia.
They didn't know. Yugoslavia, I don't know, but they were wondering.
In general, it's a lot of names that end in C.
Something. I'm just saying, I wanted people to know
we got it.
This is not some up-and-coming superstar. Yeah, that's what he is. What Nick said, that's what he is.
That's the point. Go ahead.
Not Porzingis.
Right, no. You might have gone to high school with him. That's the point I'm making. Go ahead.
That's what people in the comments were like, I went to high school in Kentucky with Luke Cornett.
Yeah. All right, did we show that graphic? I don't know if we did. Anyways, it's my favorite graphic. Winless this century in the Garden. Is this a must-win for Jalen Brunson and the Knicks?
No. Here's why. If Tatum wasn't injured, then I could understand the argument. But the more people, I think, accept the fact that with Tatum out, and for all intents and purposes, Kristaps Porzingis out, if you went into a season and said, this is our five, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, this stage, Drew Holiday, Al Horford, and then either Cornette or Pritchard, you know what I mean? You would be like on the same tier as the Detroit Pistons. Like Cade, Jalen, like, you know what I mean? That wouldn't be a terrible team. I'm not arguing it's some awful team.
Right.
But you would say, okay, that's like, that's like maybe a 7 seed thereabouts, really a 42, 44 win team. And that might be optimistic. Maybe it's a little pessimistic. It feels about right to me. The Knicks are at this point, with 2 of the Celtics' 3 most talented guys either officially out or de facto out, at such a talent edge, and the fact that Boston, this core, has lost a ton of playoff home games, including Game 7 in their building, closeout finals games in their building. It's not like, but we couldn't go and win there. They've already done it twice. I think the Knicks will win tonight. I would be surprised if they don't. But if they don't, I will not look at Game 7 like they are a decided underdog in it.
I disagree with the reasoning of, obviously, at this stage without Tatum, I would say the Knicks are more talented, certainly their first 5. But I don't think that's going to decide this series at this point. Because what Boston does have, and I felt this way even with Tatum, but certainly now without him, they just got a group that's built to play the way they play. We just going to hoist up a bunch of threes.
Yes.
And we're going to defend hard because that's what we have to do to get on the floor for Joe Mazzulla. So I think even though they don't have their best player, if they get hot, and that's obviously what they were in Game 5, they hit the playoff record, 22 threes for them. So they will be dangerous. But I am with you ultimately. This is not a must-win for the Knicks. The Knicks can definitely go in there and win in Boston because both of these teams are unpredictable in that regard. The Knicks are 2-3 at home this playoffs. They're 5-1 on the road. At the beginning of the playoffs, you never would have said they're going to go and steal the first 2 in Boston. Mm-hmm. All right. And then you look at Boston, and it's the same team essentially that 2 years ago was down 3-0 to Miami, and then wins the next 3, and now everybody's thinking, they're going to win this. They're at home, and they lose at home. And so these teams you don't know what they're going to show you on the court. So, yeah, it's not a must-win. Certainly you want to get it over with if you're the Knicks because Indiana's sitting there resting, too.
Yes.
That's the thing. The Knicks, tough 6 games against Detroit, tough 6 or 7 games against Boston, and Indiana's had 2 5-game series, and they're resting. So, yeah, they should try to get it over tonight.
The other unpredictable nature of the series is Porzingis. When you say, you don't have Porzingis because Game 5, 12 minutes, 1 point. He took 3 shots, and then Cornette came on, who is from Kentucky. He was warming up today, and he looked pretty good. This illness hasn't...
I think it's his fatigue. That's what it is.
Mazzulla said he couldn't breathe.
Game 5 said he couldn't breathe.
So the weird part is whatever he has not been linear, right? It's not like I was sick and I got better. It's been more of a roller coaster. So he's 0 points the first game, 8, 5, 7. And then back down to...
What has he made? 4
to 1
shots
point.
this series.
So
I think he's made 4 baskets in like 80 minutes.
The last series, when he was out in the regular season, against the Magic, he had 19 points in 22. And that first game that Tatum was out, he had 20 points in 34 minutes. It's the same kind of illness, but we've had these pockets of feeling good. But it's this illness that he's dealing with. So if we randomly have a day that he feels good and he can give you 20 points,
so that
all of a
gives
sudden
them
I'm
to
starting
me
to be
a
like,
much
No, it'd be huge.
No, that
but it's on the board oddly.
No, so I
No one knows
listen.
how to
it
analyze
is
it,
the
including doctors.
Porzingis thing is odd, and I don't want to sound too. I'm not trying to sound super negative. It's scary. It's scary, not in like life and death, but scary in like, man, you've got access to literally the best doctors in the world,
Yes.
and they can't fix it for you. So it's just, I'm sure for him it feels debilitating, like literally and metaphorically. So I don't want to act like I know what's going to happen there. Obviously, a healthy Porzingis gives them a far better chance. But I think that we need to not act like Game 5 didn't happen, but I also think it is instructive, Game 4, when the Celtics played really well, when their best player was still there and having one of the best games of his life, and the Knicks walked them down and then took total control.
Yeah.
Based on what we have seen these last 10 days, the Knicks are better than Boston. I know that's something that it just, to me, that's what it has felt like during the course of this series. And so I don't know why I would expect Boston to all of a sudden, especially when Drew and Al haven't been able to have back-to-back good games, for it to change tonight. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.